One of the most important things about a film is advertising. If you don't get the word out there, people won't see it and the film will be a financial failure. Sometimes, however, executives can go a little bit too far. Publicity Campaign by Arthur C. Clarke. Read by Karl Wallace. The concussion of the last atom bomb still seemed to linger as the lights came on again. For a long time, no one moved. Then the assistant producer said innocently, "Well, RB, what do you think of it?" RB heaved himself out of his seat while his acolytes waited to see which way the cat would jump. It was then they noticed that RB's cigar had gone out. Why, that hadn't happened even at the preview of GWTW. "Boys," he said ecstatically, "we've got something here. How much did you say it cost, Mike?" $6.5 million, RB. It was cheap at the price. Let me tell you, I'll eat every foot of it if the gross doesn't beat Quo Vadis. He wheeled, as swift as could be expected for one of his bulk, upon a small man still crouched in his seat at the back of the projection room. "Snap out of it, Joe. You're saved. Seen all these space films. How does it line up with the earlier ones?" Joe came to with an obvious effort. "There's no comparison," he said. "It's got all the suspense of the thing without that awful letdown the end when you saw the monster was human. The only picture that comes within miles of it is War of the Worlds. Some of the effects in that were nearly as good as ours, but of course George Pal didn't have 3D. And that sure makes a difference. When the Golden Gate Bridge went down, I thought that pier was going to hit me." "The bit I liked best," put in Tony from Publicity, "was when the Empire State Building split up right the middle. Don't suppose the owners might sue us, though?" "Of course not. No one expects any building to stand up to, what did the script call them? City busters. And after that, we wiped out the rest of New York as well. Ugh, that scene in the Holland Tunnel when the roof gave way. Next time I'll take the ferry." "Yes, it was very well done. Almost too well done. What really got me was creatures from space. The animation was perfect. How did you do it, Mike?" "Trade secret," said the proud producer. "Still, I'll let you in on it. A lot of stuff is genuine." "What?" "Oh, don't get me wrong. We haven't been on location to Sirius B. We developed a micro camera over at Caltech. We used that to film spiders in action. We cut in the best shots, and I think you have a job telling which was micro and which was the full-size studio stuff. Now you understand why I want aliens to be insects, not octopi like the script said first." "There's a good publicity angle there," said Tony. "One thing worries me now. That scene when the monsters kidnapped Gloria. Do you suppose the censor, the way we've done it, almost looks..." "Ah, quit worrying. That's what people are supposed to think. You can make it clear the next reel they really want her for dissection, so that's alright." "It'll be a riot," gloated RB, a faraway gleam in his eye, as if he was already hearing the avalanche of dollars pouring into the box office. "Look, we'll put another million into publicity. I can see the posters. Get all this down, Tony. Watch the sky. The Syrians are coming. Like thousands of clockwork models. Can you imagine them scuttling around the hairy legs? People love to be scared, and we'll scare them. By the time we've finished, no one will be able to look at the sky without getting in the creeps. And we to you boys, this picture is going to make history." He was right. Monsters from Space hit the public 2 months later. Within the week of the simultaneous London and New York premieres, there would have been no one in the Western world who had not seen the poster screaming, "Earth beware!" or not shuddered at the photographs of the hairy horrors stalking along deserted Fifth Avenue on their thin, many-jointed legs. Blimps cleverly disguised as spaceships cruised across the skies, to the vast confusion of pilots who encountered them, and clockwork models of the alien invaders were everywhere, scaring the little old ladies out of their wits. The publicity campaign was brilliant, and the picture would undoubtedly run for months had it not been for coincidence as disastrous as it was unforeseeable. When the number of people fitting into performance was still news, the skies of Earth filled suddenly with long, lean shadows, sliding swiftly through the clouds. Prince Zerfasond was good-natured, but inclined to be impetuous, a well-known failing of his race. There was no reason to suppose this present mission, that of making peaceful contact with the planet Earth, will present any particular problems. The correct technique of approach had been thoroughly worked out over many thousands of years, as the Third Galactic Empire slowly expanded its frontiers, absorbing planet after planet, sun upon sun. There was seldom any trouble. Really intelligent races can always cooperate, once they got over the initial shock of learning they are not alone in the universe. It was true that humanity had emerged from its primitive, warlike stage only within the last generation. This, however, did not worry his chief advisor, Signuson II, professor of astropolitics. It's a perfectly typical Class B culture, said the professor. Technologically advanced, morally rather backward. However, they are already used to the concept of spaceflight and will soon take us for granted. The number of costumes will be sufficient to won their confidence. Very well, said the prince. Tell the envoys to leave at once. It was unfortunate the normal precautions did not allow for Tony Orbach's publicity campaign, which had now reached new heights of interplanetary xenophobia. The ambassadors landed in New York Central Park on the very day that a prominent astronomer, unusually hard up and therefore amenable to influence, announced in a widely reported interview that any visitors from Earth probably would be unfriendly. The luckless ambassadors, heading for the United Nations building, got as far as 60th Street when they met the mob. The encounter was very one-sided, and the scientists at the Museum of Natural History were most annoyed there was so little left for them to examine. The prince tried once more, on the other side of the planet, but the news had got there first. This time the ambassadors were armed, and gave a very good account of themselves before they were overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Even so, it was not until the rocket bombs climbing up towards the fleet, the prince finally lost his temper and decided to take drastic action. It was all over in 20 minutes, and was really quite painless. Then the prince turned to his advisor and said, with considerable understatement, "That appears to be that. And now, can you tell me exactly what went wrong?" Signussen II kneaded his dozen flexible fingers in some anguish. Not only the spectacle of the neatly disinfected earth that distressed him, though the scientist's destruction of such a beautiful specimen is always a major tragedy. At least equally upsetting was the demolition of his theories, and with them his reputation. "I just don't understand it," he lamented. "Of course the races at this level of culture are often suspicious and nervous when contact is first made, but they never had visitors before. There was no reason to prevent them to be hostile." Hostile? They were demons. I think they were all insane. The prince turned to his captain, a tripedal creature who looked rather like a ball of wool balanced on 3 knitting needles. "Is the fleet reassembled?" "Yes, sire." "Then we return to base at optimum speed. This planet depresses me." On the dead and silent Earth, the posters still screamed their warnings from 1,000 boardings. The malevolent insectile shapes shown pouring from the skies bore no resemblance at all to the prince, who apart from his 4 eyes might have been mistaken for a panda with purple fur, and who, moreover, had come from Rigel, not Sirius. But of course, it was now much too late to point this out. The end.